How low can home prices go? That's what everybody wants to know these days, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video. Because in my hyper-local Florida housing market, I've seen 3 homes take massive price reductions, where frankly, if these sellers had timed it a little bit differently, if they were in the right place at the right time with the right product, if this had been in the heat of the frenzy, chances are these homes would have sold at a premium. Well, let me say that a little bit differently. Chances are they would have traded higher than list. Chances are there would have been multiple buyers that would have been willing to outbid the other and waive contingencies in order to purchase those homes. But that's not what the market is like today. And these sellers absolutely missed the market, because things like condition of the home, location of the home, and price of the home all mean a lot in today's market. And they just didn't mean as much not that long ago. But with buyer demand falling off a cliff in many markets, sellers are having to face the music of what the actual market is. Not what they think their home is worth, not what they think the market is, but forced to deal with the reality of what a buyer is willing to pay. And in today's market, buyers are not willing to overpay for homes. Which brings me to where I originally started, which is how low will home prices go? Because it is highly unlikely that the double-digit gains that we've experienced over the last few years are going to continue at the same pace. If you're new to the channel, my name is Chris Igoe. If you are a returning viewer, I appreciate your participation in our journey. And I suspect you probably know that I've been talking about what 2023 will look like for a long time. I'm on the record as stating that I expect that the 2023 market is going to be very similar to pre-pandemic housing market conditions, which means there's more inventory, which means it takes longer to sell, and it means that there's not as many buyers shopping. Now, as many of you know, I used to be a stockbroker. For 18 years, that's what I did. I traded retail stock. And my approach was to build what I like to call a mini mutual fund, where I would build position in best of breed stocks. I'd let my winners run. I'd cut my losers to the 50-day moving average, and I would typically outperform the market. Now, bear with me here because I'm making an analogy, but I think when I complete what I'm going to say, it will have a lot of value. Because early in my stockbroker career, I found that there was a speculative niche in the market of clients who wanted to trade aggressively. They wanted to boost their buying power. They wanted to go out there and borrow money from the bank to trade stocks. And really what that's called is buying on margin. And I have no idea why I did air quotes there, because it's actually a real thing. But buying on margin to me is similar to buying a house, because unless you are a cash buyer and own the house outright, you are playing with bank money. And I shouldn't say playing, you are investing with the bank's money. And yes, you've put down a down payment, but the truth is the majority of the home is owned by the bank up until you sell it or pay it off, which is a long way of saying there is investment risk involved when you're buying with someone else's money, like a bank's. Now, let me just address the main question that I asked at the beginning of this video, which is how low can home prices go? Well, I've learned that anything that you buy can go to zero. Do I think there's any risk of you buying a home tomorrow and it being worth zero? No. At least not here in my market in Florida. But is it possible that the home that you buy could decrease in value and leave you negative equity in the home? Yes, 100%. And that's exactly what happened the last time the market crashed. There were tons of short sales, and it was a disaster, which is a long way of saying nobody wants to have to come to the closing table with additional funds to be able to sell their house. They want to make money. They want to tap into the equity. And the good news is right now, most sellers have a ton of equity in which they can tap into if they need to, if they must sell. And I think we are 18 to 24 months away from the pain of recession, from the fear of unemployment really weighing in on the psyche of the consumer. But make no mistake, when the consumer is in pain and panic selling happens, there's going to be a rush to the exit door of a lot of people doing the same thing at the same time. And that's when you see big price reductions. That's when you see homes lose value. That's when you see a crash. And we're nowhere near that, in my opinion, in my hyperlocal market. But there are plenty of other markets out there that are experiencing this pain and are seeing this collapse happen right now. Now, I've read your comments, and I have to be honest, some of them just completely crack me up, especially the one that says you should always trust the guy making YouTube videos from his car. One, it's not a car, it's a truck. And two, you should absolutely not trust me. You should verify everything I say until I earn your trust. And make no mistake, trust is earned. It's not given freely. At least that's the way I operate, and I would suspect that's the way you operate too. Trust, but verify. Check the numbers, because the numbers don't lie. Now, I'll be the first to say I feel immeasurably blessed to have you as a viewer, and many of you reach out to hire me to help you find your dream home and dream lifestyle. Thank you. I truly value and appreciate your business. But because of that, the metric that I'm able to track on a day-to-day basis is how many people are reaching out to hire me to help them go out there and buy or sell a home. And while the headline news will absolutely tell you that home sales have dropped exponentially versus the recent past, but I'm also pleased to say that people are reaching out to me on a daily basis now, really more than ever. And honestly, I'm going to have to go fact check myself, because I don't know if that's 1,000% true. I know it's damn close, but during the frenzy, honestly, I think I was probably getting a little bit more reach outs a day. But truthfully, I could not serve and support them at the highest level. There weren't enough homes, and the competition was too insane. Today, that's not the case. But over the last week, I've had the opportunity to connect with some home buyers that are interested in purchasing a home in my hyperlocal market. And honestly, they needed to go see another home in another community to know for certain where they wanted to be. It did not take them very long to understand that they wanted to be in my hyperlocal market. To be honest, they want to be in my neighborhood. And if not my exact neighborhood, then one of the similar neighborhoods built out by GL in the canyons. And I share that because there has been enormous demand from buyers who want to live in my market. They want to live in the canyons. And if you're interested in seeing what living in the canyons is like, I will attach a video in the upper right-hand corner so that you can check it out too. Which is a long way of getting to. We found 3 properties that might be the right home in the canyon to show them. And what I found to be interesting immediately is that all 3 of these homes are grossly overpriced, in spite of the fact that they've all had massive price reductions to the tune of $50,000, $50,000, and $225,000. But things that did not matter in the not so distant past, like condition of the home, are a major factor today. And so the first house that I showed them was a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, roughly 2,500 square feet under air. And I'm going to pop in pictures so that you can see the home. And it even had a pool. But this has been on the market for 132 days and has been reduced from $847,000 down to $797,000, which again is a $50,000 price reduction, and no buyers. But the home is nice, it's clean, and frankly, the sellers just missed the market. They're not getting $797,000. Now, the next home that I showed them is on the same street. And it is a phenomenal street to live on. It's in Canyon Isles, which is an incredibly nice place to live. And this puppy started at $825,000. It's down to $775,000, which again, $50,000 price reduction. It's been on the market 150 days. And as soon as I walked in, I could tell why. Because the home is in terrible condition. And although it's got a prime lot with a spectacular view, nobody is buying this dated, mold-infested disaster at this price. And to put it into perspective, and I know this is going way back in the time machine, in 2011, this home sold for $231,000, which brings me to the best of these homes. And this home is incredibly beautiful. It's got $1 million view and a completely sick backyard. But in spite of the fact that it's had $250,000 worth of price reductions, it's still overpriced. These folks have been on the market now for 2 separate listings for north of 200 plus days cumulatively, and they went from $1.1 million down to $875,000, which then got bumped to $900,000, which makes absolutely no sense to me. But nonetheless, here we are. And if there's a buyer that's willing to pay $900,000 for that home, well then congratulations. You just got 900 grand. A full disclosure, this is not a knock on the house. The house is great. This home is an incredibly nice home, but it has been decorated and upgraded and improved in a way that is completely dated. It's a well lived in house, and I suspect they got maximum utility out of it. But today's buyer is not going to pay a premium for a house that is not turnkey. And I hate to say it, but to many buyers, this home is a gut job. But I can tell you one thing, if this was listed at the right time, it would have sold for significantly higher, and they probably would have gotten the 1.1, if not more. But pricing and timing is key to anything if you're looking to score the best deal. In today's market, most folks are not going to overpay for a home. Period. End of story. Which brings me back to how low will home prices go? And I suspect they're probably going back to single-digit growth in my local housing market, which is probably 2 to 4% over the course of the next year. But I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Some of the analysts that cover the housing market think that we're going to see something similar to what I said. Corelogic is out there stating that the national housing market will appreciate by 2.8% over the course of the next year. And Realtor.com, who I trust about as far as I can throw, sees national home price appreciation of 5.4%. Now, full disclosure, analysts are wrong all the time. And the more granular that they get with their price predictions, the more likely they are to be wrong. But frankly, I think you've got a snowball shot in hell of seeing 5.4% on a national level as far as appreciation is concerned, because the consumer is suffering. Mortgage rates are up 63% year over year, while wages have only grown at 27%. So yes, there is definitely a subset of buyers who can afford to do whatever they want, whenever they want. And many of them want to live in Florida. So as I've said all along, I suspect that my local housing market is more insulated than other markets. But just like a rising tide lifts all boats, a waning tide lowers them. And we're seeing those three homes get lowered with the tide because the market for suboptimal homes is reset or resetting. And there's a lot of folks that are talking about the shifting real estate market. Well, I'd make the argument that there is no shifting, it's shifted. But as we trend into the third and fourth quarter of this year, and then certainly into next, that's when we start to see what could look like a crash in certain markets. But no market is immune, and irrespective of that, it will always be a good market for someone. And real estate will always trade. Now, I hope you found this content valuable, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend, and subscribe to the channel. And check out my next video because I suspect you'll love it a lot. And until next time, peace.